Two wheels are better than four. From the mountains to the shore, find us rolling up to the pub. We're 17 Scooters Club. I don't know. I like it.
I look like a Twitch streamer.
I'm kind of jealous that I have like a little mini goatee of headphone, and you guys look like legit.
Twitch streamer, race car driver, or pilot.
Yeah, I'd want to be the race car driver.
I feel like a pit crew. Go, go, go.
I feel like a pilot.
Hurry up. Yeah.
Instead of like the targets and stuff.
He has pilot headphones.
I'll block them.
Could try those. Anyways, hello everybody.
Welcome.
Happy Tuesday. Welcome to 17 Scooters Club. I'm Olivia.
I'm Kate.
Natalie. Oh, sorry. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Kate.
We're still getting used to this. Yeah, I'm not ready to talk yet. It's early. Somehow my coffee got cold. And yeah, my brain isn't fully here, so that might be more entertaining or less entertaining.
That's why you start out with iced coffee. Then it doesn't get cold. It's already cold.
Liv and I like hot coffee.
Hot chocolate.
Liv is
That just
frozen.
reminds
She's
me of-
permanently drinking coffee on the screen if you're watching.
Polar Express. She is.
My
There she is.
Riverside just told me to make sure I had a stable internet connection.
Yeah, you were frozen drinking your coffee.
No, I didn't get enough.
Okay.
Okay, we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Anyways, it's still spooky season,
Cheers.
which I think is something we're gonna continue past spooky season.
It's always spooky
Hello,
season.
I know. I had a few topics that I thought would be fun to like bounce off of you guys, and instead of like telling people about them throughout the week, I've just pulled up my notes app, written it down, and moved on. Just like random things. We don't have to go through all of them. But first, have you guys ever called 911?
Yeah,
Yes.
actually.
Okay, Natalie, what did you call 911 for?
So, this actually was, I'm trying to think of the month. It was right after the University of Idaho murders, and they still hadn't caught the murderer. And I was living in a house, like in the town right next door, actually where the guy ended up being caught. But it was maybe like 11 p.m., 11:30. I had just let the dogs out in the yard because I would let the dogs out before I go to bed. They'd run around, they'd come back in. And I was standing actually inside, and I was like, what was that? I heard the most terrifying scream I've ever heard ever.
Was this your apartment complex in Pullman?
No, this was the house I lived in. And
Oh,
it was
after?
it was in a nice-ish neighborhood, like a pretty nice neighborhood, especially for that area.
Huh.
I heard a scream, and I was like, no way. So I went outside, and Zion was frozen. He wouldn't move. Coco ran inside. And then he eventually ran in, so they were scared. And I heard stuff falling, and like another scream. And it was, I think the house just like kind of diagonal, so I couldn't see in the house because the lights were off and the shades were down and stuff. But yeah, I ended up calling the cops, and a guy ended up being arrested for domestic violence.
Oh, God.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. This is
But
probably
I thought
trigger warning.
I thought someone was getting murdered.
Is that the family that some tragic things ended up happening to? No.
No, that was in Spokane.
That's crazy that
that was
you were...
Very
Were you
Washington.
in your house and you could hear it? That's crazy.
The door was open, but yeah.
Well, it's a
when I
good
went
thing that
outside-
she made a lot of noise. I'm guessing it was just she.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing she made a lot of noise because then you were in a neighborhood and people
Well,
do
yeah, 'cause
call.
I was like, I would hope like someone would call if I was screaming, even if nothing was happening. But you never know.
I could see people like showing up at my door for me trying to hit like the high notes, just screeching like JoJo Siwa,
Yeah.
and be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm trying to sing
just
Olivia
singing.
Rodrigo, okay?"
Oh, I think I also called the cops once. There was a deer that was hit on the side of the road, and it was like spazzing, and I was like, they need to come shoot it.
Yours are so serious. Mine was actually for the first
What
time.
the cops for?
Besides like noise complaints at my old apartment, I was with mom and dad
You're the petty
actually.
god caller.
It was bad. No, I was with mom and dad, and they were trying to help me go on a long run. I wanted to run down a mountain, and I needed someone to drive me to the top. And so I had looked up all these different routes in Millbrook, and it turns out the routes were like crap. There was no shoulders. So they were like, how about we go to these gardens or something that's like down the mountain? Let's go. I'll meet you down there. So I was like, okay. So on the way down, we noticed this guy, and he's like stumbling. He's walking, and he's like, I don't know, he looks like he's like 25. He's wearing normal clothes, and he's holding a gas can. And we missed the entrance to the gardens, and that's where like he was walking on a main road. It was on 82. And he's first, mom drives by, I'm behind her, and he chases the car and is barking. He's going, "Arr, arr, 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 arr." And I was like, maybe he tripped and fell, like maybe, I don't know what happened. So then I drive by, and his gas can is capped. I don't know if there's anything in it, but he's pretending to throw gas on my car as I'm going by. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. So then we unfortunately missed our turn, so we had to turn around and go back by, and he was darting across the road and going at the cars. So I was like, oh my God. So then we pulled into the gardens where we were going to hang out, and he was like going in front of other cars and barking at them and like pretending to chase them. So I called, and I was like, I don't know if this is an emergency, but I think there's an unwell man, and he's barking at cars, and I was like, I don't want him to get hit by a car. And they were like, barking, like B-A-R, like a dog? And I was like, yes, he's pretending to be a dog and throw gas at people's cars in the road. And they were like, oh boy, okay, yeah, we know exactly where you are. We're on our way. And I was like, okay. And then we went on our walk, and there was no follow-up. So I don't know what happened to the barking man.
Good Lord, the barking man. Yeah, well, I asked because last night Hassam and we left the country. We went into town, and we got dinner, and we were headed home. And all of a sudden, I'm scrolling on my phone. Hassam's driving, and he goes, "Oh, is that a bonfire?" And I look up, and I'm like, no, that looks like a car fire. Like, that's pretty big, especially because there's, like, regulations on having fires here in California. And we're not in the month that you're allowed to have bonfires yet. And so we get a little closer, and I'm like, I don't know. That's either, like, somebody's burning brush in their backyard type of fire, like what Dad would do. Like, it was that size. Or a car's on fire. And so we were like, okay, let's drive up the hill so we can look down. So we drive up the hill, we park in front of, like, on this little back road. I think it's a private road, and this lady and her dog are, like, looking at us, because Hassam's car is loud, like, obnoxiously. And she was all, like, on the phone, like, oh, they're, she was probably calling the cops on us, like, oh, these people are on my private drive. Anyways, we look down. Yeah, and in the time that we drove all the way up, it was a brush fire. It, like, grew like so much, and I didn't see, there were no cops there, nobody else was there, and this was midnight. So I called 911. I'm like, hey, I don't know if you guys know, but there's like no cops there yet, there's no firefighters, but there's a fire on the side of Highway 101. And they're like, oh, where's it located? And I'm like, oh yeah, like right across the street. So yeah, I saved the day last night. But most of my 911 calls are not like that. Working late night. Well, they're mostly calling the cops to come break up fights at the bar. I'm like trying to think of other ones that I've called.
Oh, I do have one. I didn't like my kind of crew called. It was on a construction site in Seattle. It's kind of similar to Katie's. We had a lot of just strange, like, homeless people. They would wander into sight. Some of them would live in our porta potties. They would like
honeypot, you know.
Yeah, they would run up to the poor people, like trying to flag the roads and stuff, and harass them. We had one where this guy was like looking around. He'd like pull out a gun and like look around and then put it back and like go to the other side and like keep doing it. But one time, there was this homeless guy. He set the porta potty on fire.
I could smell it already.
Like rolling around in like the flaming goo.
Ew!
And that sounds like something my dog would do.
And I'm like, how does that not hurt, first of all, and second, ew. But, so we called the cops, and they're like, oh, is the fire department there? And we're like, no, but we'll call them, I guess. And they're like, yeah, don't call us back until the fire department's there. So we called the fire department, they're like, we're not coming till the cops come. And then the cops are like, yeah, we're not coming till the fire department comes.
What?
You're like, well, somebody needs to come.
You're like,
I know, we're
you,
like,
how
this
about you
guy's
both
really-
come at the
Yeah.
same time?
Yeah, so then we told the fire department that the cops were already there, and then we called the cops back, and we're like, yeah, the fire department's here. So I was just like, what?
You're
That's
like, I don't get
wild.
paid enough for this.
No. But, yeah, that stuff would happen all the time.
You know what I'm always afraid of for calling 911 is when I drive around, I always put my GPS on only because it will like always tell me like, oh, there's construction up here, oh, there's a better way, or traffic. But
Yeah.
I'm always worried that if I don't have my GPS on and like something happens, I'll think about this randomly. How do you describe sometimes like on the back roads where we live, where it's just a stretch
Where
of
you are.
yeah, how do you describe where you are? Like
Well-
I don't know which way I'm going.
That was my problem. Like, I was on the highway last night, and they're like, oh, like, where's the scene of the crime? And I'm like, like Highway 101.
Yeah.
And I'm like across from
They're
the
like, "We're on
Contiki.
Highway 101. What
Yeah.
state?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, California. But no, my crazy concern last night was that, because we stayed and we watched it, because we were like, it's contained enough where,
Free entertainment.
like, it's okay. Free entertainment. I'm like, people were pulling up. It was like watching the movies outside. What's that called? The drive-in?
It honestly looked like our backyard bonfires, the picture that you sent.
Yeah.
It did. It got so much bigger than that. But we were sitting there watching it, and I had a thought go through my mind, and it was like, what if, like, do you know how murderers like insert themselves in an investigation sometimes? I'm
Yes.
like, wait, they like we saw it, we called it in, and now we're sitting here watching it. They're gonna think something's fishy about it. Like, did we light it on fire? But yeah, no. Someone's like, there's so many people here, so many people probably called it in. Like,
That's crazy.
I know. I wonder
They
what
were
the
able
random
to
is.
easily find where you were.
Yeah.
They can
'cause-
easily track your call.
Well, yeah, and well,
I like
it
how
was
they
hard.
pretend they can't.
I know. And it was hard to describe. They're like, oh, you in like the preserve, which is a hiking area. And I'm like, not really. It's kind of like further, like closer to the houses. It was very close to the houses.
I always
But-
think about that too, because a lot of places that I'm going, even if I know where I'm going, I'll put in the GPS, and I'm like, I don't know, even on big road trips though, sometimes I'm like, I know where I'm going, I don't need the GPS. Like when I'm driving to Washington, I'm just like, I just gotta drive north on the 5 for like 18 hours, you know, like I don't need my GPS.
Yeah.
So,
Only
yeah.
for traffic.
It's
Like, where
mostly
am
for
I?
Traffic, speed limit, and like if I want to pull off for gas and stuff. But even then, like I'm like, I remember I would like go to volleyball tournaments with mom, and she would print out the paper directions.
Yes.
I don't
And
know
I'm like-
how.
And she wouldn't let me use her Garmin GPS. She's like, it lies to me, I can't.
She's
Those
still
were
like
expensive.
And she
Yeah.
would like have me do the most like roundabout way, and I'm like, we're going the wrong way. Like the GPS said to go this way. She's like, nope, the paper directions are always right.
I mean, at least she could probably describe because she would
But
hit
yeah,
the button.
like, that's
She
the
could be
thing.
like, "Oh, I'm X amount of miles down this road." Yeah.
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 What was your
But
next
like
thing on your
GPS is
list
all
of-
built into our phones.
I gotta
Let's
just
see.
stop using the GPS.
Okay, well this is actually a good good
Transition.
what's it called? Yeah, transition.
segue?
Not anymore. It's not good anymore. So my car is in the shop.
Scooter.
Yeah. I have an electric Jeep. I don't recommend it. I'm glad
You have
I'm
an electric
leasing it.
Jeep?
Yeah. It's
I thought it was
hybrid.
electric.
It's
Oh.
hybrid. But it's like a plug-in hybrid, so it's like a lot closer to being electric. Anyways, that means there's 2 engines and then double the chance of things going wrong. Anyways, it's in the shop now, and they're not like, when I had a BMW, they used to just have BMWs on their lot at their dealership to lend you when you like were getting your car worked on. And that was so convenient, you didn't have to drive anywhere. Jeep, a very Jeep way. you have to, like, they call a car service, which is nice, and they'll drive you to Enterprise, and then you have to put, like, you have to put your credit card down and all of that, and you have to rent a car and they'll reimburse you. I'm like, okay, this is not as smooth and luxe feeling as BMW, but whatever, at least you're providing the service. Anyways, this guy comes to pick me up in some Dodge. I don't know cars very well, but it has 3 rows of seats. And I felt bad for the guy, like, because I was sitting there all morning and I felt guilty, like, opening the back seat and being like, yes, Trevor, take me where I have to go. So I reluctantly climbed into the front seat and I'm like, what am I doing? I don't want to be in the front seat right now. I don't want to be sitting talking to this guy. And like, well, shit, now he thinks I'm weird. And so I had to sit in the front seat just being like, yeah, and just so talkative. And I'm like, this is the last thing I want to do right now. I had 2 rows behind me I could have gotten into, but I felt bad.
Okay, second row is acceptable. Back row is a little weird.
I thought you were gonna say you got in the third row.
You could have climbed in the trunk, like at that point. That would have been like less weird.
I know. I know,
I
and
mean,
I'm
at
like,
least if anything
what?
went wrong, people could see you. Just,
Yeah.
like, wave your hands. You know?
Yeah. Let's see what else. We could always sprinkle these in, but I had a thought last night, and I'm like, being a girl is like flossing. I'm like, I closed the door to the bathroom because I'm like, I need honestly like 20 minutes to get ready for bed, which is so annoying. Like, people don't floss and then they lie about flossing, right? Like, nobody flosses for real.
Oh, you told me this.
No, I thought of this last night, so I don't think I did. But
We had the floss conversation.
well, yeah. Anyways, I do floss now. I'm on a streak. I'm gonna knock on wood because that streak could end at any moment. But I'm like, I have to wash my face. I have to brush my teeth. I have to brush my hair. I have to take my contacts out. I have to do like 12 skincare things. And I'm like, a boy just brushes their teeth and gets into bed. And I'm
Jake
like,
used hand soap on his face.
hand soap.
So does John.
And
He
has
doesn't use soap. He just
beautiful skin.
splashes. Yeah, I don't get it. And I'm like, why do we have to, like, all of those things are congruent with flossing? Like, the same amount of annoyingness.
Just the extra tasks.
Yeah, just a random extra task. And I'm like, can we just not? Like, how do we just go back and not?
I have to do mine in a certain order. I brush my teeth and
then I
mouthwash
wash my face.
before. Yes, I wash my face.
Then
So
you
then,
don't get the stuff on your face.
and then you
Yeah.
break out. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's tough. There's an order to it.
Yeah.
I know.
And the contacts
So much
still
work.
last. But then once you brush your teeth, you're like, oh, like I can't, like, eat or drink anything that's not
You're like,
water.
my seltzer water isn't gonna taste good anymore.
Yeah. I mean, tea, I guess, is okay, but
Yeah, we should be getting paid for this shit. Was my
I know.
yeah.
I'm on the
Do you
clock.
remember strobe lights?
Yes.
I'm rewatching How I Met Your Mother, and I'll stop talking after this because I feel like I've just been talking, talking, and it is a podcast.
That's true.
Anyways, I was watching How I Met Your Mother, and I forget the scene, but there were strobe lights on. Or they were talking about how they used to entertain themselves when they were kids. No, I was listening to Morbid. And they said that they would just they would play like strobe light hide and go seek. And I'm like, oh, that's genius. And then I had a clear vision of us in me and Natalie's childhood bedroom. We all had strobe lights,
Bright
and
yellow
I think mine was like pink or blue, and Katie had one too. Didn't we all have strobe lights, or was it just one?
Yeah, I don't know why Mom was
Strobe
getting
lights.
us strobe lights, but yes.
We all had,
It's, like, not good.
which is also something we should have fucking kept. Like, I would
Right?
like die to have a strobe light in my house right now. Anyways, we would just like strobe light it up and be like, who can run towards the door the fastest
Yes,
without
'cause
running
made
into
you
it?
look- It made you
Yeah.
look really cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that, but it was like the door just shows up really fast, and we were like, who could get the closest to the door without running into it? And we were like, and they probably heard us downstairs just like, bonk, bonk, banging into the door. And I'm like, do you guys have any other strobe light memories?
I remember trying to take a video of it because we used to like make KKON videos, but the camera doesn't pick it up as well as like your eyes do. So I remember being like, "Whoa!" Like Keely would do these cool these cool dance moves, and it looked so cool. But then
Yeah.
we would try to take a video of it, and it looked so stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, we probably could have done it if we were smart and put it on like a different setting or something. But
Yeah.
we're just like
True.
taking videos on what was it, the video camera or just the old
The
iPhones?
camcorder.
It was a video camera, yeah.
Yeah.
I get so mad that we didn't post those. Like we thought them out so hard. Like we would have meetings, we'd write down what we're doing, then we'd go film it, and then we'd go watch it, and they were so entertaining. Like
We can
would-
still
so
pull
good.
them off. Mom and Dad have the converter thing still.
Yeah, but it's not the same. Like those, like of that time, it was so like such a big part of it. Like if we were posting in early 2000s,
We would be billionaires
We
now.
would've been Vine
We
famous.
would, and they
Those
were so
very
entertaining.
Vine-esque kind
Very,
of videos. They were cringy, but they were so funny.
yeah. Yep, we missed our opportunity. Anyways, I'm gonna pass the torch.
All right. Nat, do you want to go or do you want me to go? I have a follow-up from last week. It's up to you.
Oh, you go then. I want to hear your story.
Okay, so remember last week I mentioned that we were talking about mimics and the black-eyed kids and all of that. And I had said that our cousin had an experience, and I remembered him telling me about it briefly. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, number one, is it okay if I share this in length? And number two, if so, can you write me out like a story of exactly what happened? Because I had heard it from his mom. And he was like, oh my God, yeah, it was the weirdest experience. So I'm going to read it to you. Okay. So for some context, our cousin is around our age. He has a significant other and a couple of kids, and they live up in Vermont in the mountains. Okay. So he says, it was late, somewhere between midnight and 1 a.m. on a cold Monday night. I was in my living room unwinding with a drink, and I was watching the movie Kill Tony. The wind was howling outside, whipping the snow into drifts, leaving it 3 inches piled up against my windows.
Wait,
We
he's
live
such
far-
a good writer. Sorry, I won't say anything else.
We live far from town. I asked him for detail. We live far from town, at least an hour's walk from Cambridge. There's no cell service, and on winter nights like this, our house feels even more isolated. It was a perfect setting for a quiet, uneventful night. He said, suddenly there was movement outside and it caught my eye. I'm thinking that he maybe had like those windows like on the side of doors that people sometimes see, but he somehow saw movement outside.
I
He
would
said
die if I didn't have curtains on any window at night.
Right?
Like I
That's
could not do
terrifying.
that.
So it caught his eye and he looked over and he froze. He said there, standing in front of the door, was a girl. She couldn't have been more than 15 years old. Her pale face was framed by dark hair, and her clothes were not very appropriate for the biting cold. She looked scared, maybe nervous, as if she didn't belong in this place or where she was. My gut was twisting because something felt really wrong. Against my better judgment, I stood up and I went to the door to see if she was okay. I opened it just a crack and asked if she needed help. Her voice was barely a whisper, and she told me that she had been in a car accident and her boyfriend left her and he took off, and she'd been walking alone ever since. But something about it didn't add up. Like, the road was empty, there was no car, there was no signs of a wreck, and he said there was not even tire tracks in the snow, and I looked down at her feet and there was no footprints. So number one, that doesn't add up at all. She said that she was in a car accident and her boyfriend took off, but he lives on top of a mountain, so she was like, how did you get here?
Why would she climb up there? Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah, and
I
they
don't-
probably have to drive past his house too to leave.
to leave.
Maybe.
And like if she was in a wreck and her boyfriend took off, why would she be out of the car? It just didn't really make sense. She then asked if she could come inside and use my phone. That's when I felt the hairs on my neck stand up. There was something unnatural about her, and her tone of her voice was really weird. I hesitated trying to make sense of it, but I couldn't see her eyes clearly. They were shadowed by her hair, and my porch was dimly lit. There was something off about her entire demeanor. She wasn't shivering despite the freezing temperature, and her body language just felt weird, as if it was mimicking how a scared person should act, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
I handed her my phone through the crack of the door, but I didn't want to let her in, obviously, because he has kids and a significant other. It's 1 a.m. She took it, and it sent a chill through me. She dialed a number and she spoke in small, clipped, monotone phrases, and it just didn't sound right. I couldn't really hear the voice on the other end, but the conversation was really brief. And again, it just felt weird. She handed me the phone back, and I noticed a detail that had been, she handed me the phone back, and I noticed that her eyes looked really dark, like too dark. But again, the porch light was dim, and I couldn't tell what was going on, or I just felt weird. I told her the cops were on the way, because I guess he had called the cops. I told her the cops were on the way and that she should sit on my front steps. She nodded silently, still staring at me with her creepy eyes. She turned around and she faced the road, and I guess she sat on the snow-covered porch. I shut the door quickly and I locked the house. And then he said my heart was pounding and I could feel the weight of her presence outside, just on the other side of the door. Something was not right. After 5 minutes, I peeked back through the window, expecting to see her still there, but she was completely gone. I flung the door open and I scanned the yard. There was nothing. There was no trace of her. There was no footprints in the snow leading away from my house. There was no evidence that she'd even been there standing in the snow on my porch in the first place, as if she had vanished into thin air. I later read about the legend of the black-eyed children, strange and eerie, and it freaked me out because I feel like this is what happened to me. From what I researched, they try to gain entry into homes or cars, but once you invite them in, terrible things happen. So happy I didn't let her in. Thanks for letting me write in, guys. That's terrifying!
Oh my God, that is terrifying.
So I had the gist of it last week, that basically there's something with a car and whatever, but I didn't realize that he had let her use the phone, and she used the phone, but then was just standing there staring. And then disappeared.
I'd like to think that you passed your phone to them. That would freak me out. Be like, oh my God, I almost touched, your hands touched, and I'm like, ah.
Right? And then I don't understand the footprints. They live in the middle of nowhere snow, so it's not like it would blow away.
That's scary. I mean, it makes me feel like maybe, I didn't even realize that it was a potential that black-eyed children were, spirits.
Yeah, they're paranormal.
Well, yeah, I thought they were just cryptids. I didn't realize that they could be, spirits or, ghosts or something.
Well,
they don't appear to everybody. Or, they're not leaving footsteps.
You know what that reminds me of? I just thought of this when you said this. My story last week about the girl who was outside in the fall with the bonfire, with the fenced-in yard, and she kept hearing the, hello, hello, and it was going all around the yard. But the leaves were on the ground, and she said she didn't hear footsteps at all.
She didn't hear them crunch.
Yeah,
Ooh,
so maybe that
and
was.
you would hear that.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a black-eyed child.
Maybe.
So that's interesting. So how did they get there? They just appeared?
I don't know. And the fact that he used the word mimic, mimicking a person, I'm like, oh gosh, that was our whole theme last week too. That's creepy.
Yeah, they sound mechanical, robotic.
That was such a good story, but I'm glad it's light out.
Yeah, I'm glad it's light out.
I'm glad I don't have any stories.
I hope he got curtains on his windows.
I know.
I hope so.
I know, because then, these creatures could see in, and, part of me thinks that it would be so, nice to live, I do live in the country, but I'm, there's a few of us, around town, I'm not that in the country, part of me thinks it would be cool to live, far out and have no neighbors for miles and miles, but then part of me is oh, those are the people that aliens abduct. I don't want to wake up in the morning and be like, oh, did I just get abducted by aliens last night? Or, even for murderers, they'll target the ones in the woods, such like that. So, I don't know, I'm very torn.
I mean, that's true. The black-eyed children didn't go to the door of the people down in town. They went to the only house up on the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Come stay at a ghost town near me.
I might do that.
Ghost town, that seems fun.
Apparently, there's one ghost town near me. It's called Bodie. It's one of the most haunted places in California. I don't know why.
Bodie? California's big.
I know.
Natalie, what do you have for us today?
I don't have any specific stories. I was trying to find haunted Ridgecrest stuff, but apparently
She's
Ridgecrest isn't haunted.
Oh, well, I'll find something next week. What's it called? So you're just here for your presence? You're just gracing us with your presence?
Blessing you with my presence.
Bodhi
Aw.
looks really cool, by the way. I just googled it,
It
about why
does.
it's haunted. It's like an old, like, it just looks like an old 1900s town of everything made out of wood.
Apparently, Ransburg is haunted, which is close by as well. I know, I was trying to find some ghost lore, but
What the heck? I saved something on Reddit because I thought it was
I could-
scary and entertaining. And now it's not showing up in my saved folder, which is kind of scary. I'm like,
Was
that's
it-
paranormal in itself.
And was it paranormal related?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
It says, wow, such empty. What?
wow,
What does
that's
that
so
mean?
empty.
I screenshotted it too. Maybe I could watch the screenshot be gone.
I started reading those stories
Oh my
that we
God.
talked about last week. I'm a search and rescue officer.
Oh, did you?
Yes, and I've read them before, but after we talked about it, I had to reread them, and I couldn't stop. I just
They're
kept
so
clicking
interesting.
next.
Ooh. Guys, that screenshot's gone. That's creepy.
Well, if you're
That's
haunted,
creepy.
Fuck.
it looks like you're in the
What
dark.
the hell? I am kind of in the dark. The sun was coming through the door, so it was blinding me, so I
Oh.
I put the curtain up.
I see. Yeah.
What the actual heck?
I have something creepy I think I can talk about.
Go
So I
ahead.
found it on Google Maps when we were driving back from Death Valley. We were driving by the base that I work on,
Mm-hmm.
and I had my maps up, and it was on satellite. I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Oh, yes.
Was it on base or just near it?
It was on base, but you can see it from Google Earth, so everyone else can see it. It's not just me.
It's not
Um,
just me.
And I was actually working near it the other day, Liv. Like,
Were
right
you?
next to it.
Did you get to
Yeah.
see it in real life?
Kind of. It's very weird out there. So, I don't know if you can see my phone. So this is kind of what. How did the YouTubers do it?
Oh, there you go. Oh.
Okay. So do we see that little dot there?
Yeah.
So this is in the middle of the desert.
Is it red?
Yes.
What is it? Is it a red lake?
Yes. And I was like, what the heck is that? Apparently it's called Blood Lake Testing Site.
What?
But I believe it's some sort of like algae or bacteria that turns red. But I saw it and I was like, what are they doing out here? But yeah, I was working like kind of just on the road next to it. Or like out next to it over, sorry, you can't even see it. Like just on this side. So it was on the other side of those like hills. I was
Oh.
like, I want to go look at it. But
Is
I'm
it in
sure it's like,
San Bernardino?
yes. Well,
I just-
technically, that's what it's
I just
called.
Googled it and there's crazy, like, it's red.
Yeah, I think it's just algae though. But when we were passing it, because the highway kind of goes below it,
Yeah.
the 178, and we were driving on it, and we're passing it, and I was like, what is that?
Do you think fish live in there?
Not
No. I think
many.
it's- But then there's another one I found. I gotta zoom out and then zoom back in. I kind of like memorized where these things are. So another part of the thing that you can zoom in on, I found this.
And man-made.
Wait.
That's definitely man-made. That's weird.
Wait. But look at the other indent.
Oh.
Hmm.
That is weird.
Because
What is it?
apparently it's like some water body that they made to like test like either shooting stuff at or like floatability of
Oh.
certain things, but I don't understand the other indent on the other side.
Do you know what this reminds me
I
of?
haven't seen it yet, but I want to go look at it.
There's this TikTok lady who I follow. I forget her name, but she does all of October is Spooky Lake Month, and she talks about spooky bodies of water. And it's all stuff like this. She researches it and does pictures and stuff. So if you look up Spooky Lake Month, she does like 31 days of haunted hydrology.
She should put this one.
Morbid does some of that,
I would
like
love to.
haunted lakes or something, and like it's just so many lakes out there are flooded towns, And they told
Yes.
people they got to get out, and people like protested and said no, and so they killed them. Like they drowned them. And I'm like, that's lunatic.
Lake Lanier, I forget where that is, Michigan or something, is like one of the most haunted ones. They do that, and you can still, when you're driving by, like on your boat on top, you have to be careful because you could hit the treetops, and there's cemeteries down there, and still like electric poles and stuff.
You
Just
wanna know what's
crazy.
a haunted body of water that we've both gone to? I don't know about Natalie. Lake Champlain. And I remember being in
Oh,
Lake
yeah.
Champlain and thinking that like it's so big, it's like a beach. Like if
Looks
you
like an
haven't
ocean.
been there, yeah, the sand is like sandier than the California coast is. Like it's beautiful, like white sand. The water was warm because I was there in the summertime, and like there's no waves, but it was like perfect swimming. But apparently, some people feel like get pulled under, like their legs
Yes.
get pulled under there. And
Did I tell you
heard
about that?
No,
No.
I found that on my own research.
I found that
What
on
do you
my
know about
research.
that?
That so we went up there this past year because we do a lot of like up north Adirondack, northern New York exploring, and so we were looking for like a camping site, and we ended up not staying. We ended up staying somewhere else, but like driving there. And I was just doing research, and I came across that a lot of people swim and they feel something grab their leg and quickly pull them under. And all the people that I found came back up and they were like, what the heck like was that? And I know some of like on the opposite side, they're like, oh, like giant fish live there. So is it like a giant fish like taking your leg? But
And
other
spitting
people
you
are like,
out?
no, it's spooky and haunted. But yeah, like being pulled under and then back up.
What if it's Champ? Like that goes like baby champs without teeth yet. They're just like grandma, like gummies.
Yeah.
And then they're just so dumb and they're like trying to figure and
How
explore.
big does it have to be to pull a person under and be like,
Champ
oh,
is supposed to be like 120 feet long.
that's wild.
Yeah.
I feel like
I
you had
found-
a story. I don't know if it was you or one of your friends going up Mount Beacon with the man in the
Oh.
jacket on the side.
Yeah, this isn't water related, but I had a friend who would run up and down Mount Beacon in the morning. And for those of you who don't know, Mount Beacon is like really steep and it's very wooded. And he would go up there for sunset, which I've done before too, but this guy did it like all the time. He would run up and down, and I guess one morning he was on the switchbacks going up, and he has a headlamp and he like caught something in his lamp, and it was like a weird figure standing on the side of one of the switchbacks, and he was like, okay, that's weird. So he like slowed down, and as he got closer, it was a person, and they were standing they were facing uphill, and he was approaching their back, and he was like, okay, and he was wearing like a long green like trench coat, long coat thing, and he was like, it's summertime, so that's just weird.
It's a wizard.
It was a wizard. He was standing on the side of the trail, just looking, like, facing into the woods. Like, he wasn't peeing. His hands were at his sides. Like, he was just standing there. And my friend was like, what do I do? So he decided to run around him. And the guy was just standing, staring, didn't acknowledge him, didn't move. And so he ran up and he was like, what do I do? Because I have to run down as soon as I make it up. Because he did it every morning. And when he went down, he wasn't there. It's like,
So that was the morning. It wasn't at night, but it was still dark out.
it was early morning, and it's not like Mount Beacon is a place where people would just casually, I don't think, go for a casual walk in your trench coat. Like, you have to actually like put effort in and climb it up. There's like, you fall backwards if you don't if you don't keep moving. So it's not a place that like, oh, this early morning guy would be going for a stroll.
Speaking of the woods, when I was trying to find my saved Reddit right now, and it disappeared, I should read this one that I found before this one also disappears. And it's about my town, which freaks me out because the amount of times I've driven the road they're talking about in the middle of the night, either going up to see Natalie or driving home from the bars from work. Anyways, I'll share it with you. This is called A Weird Encounter in San Luis Obispo, and it was posted 2 years ago. And so that was like prime time when I was driving back and forth between the bars to work. So they say, a few weeks ago, my family and I took a trip to California to drive up to Big Sur, in parentheses, Highway 1, and 101 to Western Washington. My wife is a Twilight fan, so the primary goal was to visit Forks, Washington. So I've driven probably this exact drive up to Natalie. After driving approximately 18 hours from Texas, we stopped for the night in San Luis Obispo, California, which is where I reside. Our first stop was food since my kids wanted to stop at Buffalo Wild Wings before headed to the hotel. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary while we were at the restaurant, granted. We got there just as the sun was going down, but after we left and we were walking back to my Jeep, my 13-year-old son stopped dead in his tracks and was focused on something across the street. From my vantage point, the area across the street looked like it was heavily wooded area and was dimly lit. Now, I'm thinking of our Buffalo Wild Wings, and yeah, I guess across the street there's like a Chinese food place that's like in the shape of a temple, and then next to that is a motel, and then next to that is like a massive park, and you could hike in with like cows and stuff. Like probably at least 100-acre park.
That sounds like a place someone might stop.
Yeah.
Food and sleep in.
Exactly. Anyways, he continues, I asked my son what he heard, and he indicated that he thought he heard someone screaming from that direction. Almost as soon as he said that, I distinctly heard a scream coming from the same area. My wife, a general skeptic of anything remotely paranormal, indicated that she thought she saw something moving from that direction heading towards us, but could not distinctly see what it was. At this point in the evening, the parking lot surrounding the restaurant was mostly empty, and we were one of the 3 vehicles parked there. Not knowing the area and not wanting to potentially get involved in whatever the hell was going on, we quickly got in the Jeep and left. Before heading to the hotel, I wanted to make a quick trip by the Ernie Ball Music Man factory.
Do you know
I'm a
where
guitar
that is?
player. No, but I didn't know that was in our town because I own a lot of their equipment.
Huh.
And I bought them all off of Amazon. So I didn't know I could have been going to the factory. Anyways, I'm a guitar player and have played their instruments for years and was curious about where so much of my money went. Haha. We drove through what looked like part of downtown into a dimly lit industrial area where I finally found the factory. As I was taking pictures, my wife noticed the entire area was almost unlit, and the downtown area we came from had almost no one out on a Friday night. It was very dark. We both found this odd for a college town. Okay, yeah, that's very odd. They're probably talking about 9 o'clock, which doesn't happen until, like, people are getting ready at 9 o'clock. As I was rolling up my window after taking the pictures of the factory, I heard the exact same scream that my son and I heard at the restaurant. My wife and kids heard it too. The pitch generally sounded identical, however, we were now almost 7 miles away from where we initially heard the sound, and less than 15 minutes had passed. Needless to say, we decided to keep driving and not stay in slow for the night. I drove most of the night until we reached Monterey and stayed there the next day. It's been almost 2 weeks since we got back from our trip, but that scream and the general unease I felt in Slow have been, like, bugging the hell out of me. I'm posting this for 2 reasons. 1, to share my experience, and 2, to ask if anyone had similar experiences in Slow.
She froze it.
Yeah, you
This,
froze.
like, one reply I'll go into, it says, an animal could not keep up with your vehicle
Liv,
over
come
7
back.
miles and sound exactly... Oh, no. It says, an animal could not have kept up with your vehicle over 7 miles and sound exactly the same with the same intensity.
That's so weird.
Yeah. There are 2 beings, oh my god, this is so feeding, can use mimic and sound. Usually sound of people hear or their victims as they kill them. Ooh, that's creepy. So they're using the screams that their victims they kill. But what makes this sound odd is they either sound a bit off up close, or even at the range exactly the same no matter when or how you hear them.
Just
Things
like Dylan's story. That
Yeah.
she sounded
Yeah, that's
mechanical
so
and
weird.
weird.
This just goes on saying, like, it's worse the fact that the areas you went to seem pretty dead on a Friday night in a college town. Possibly spring break if it was 2 weeks ago, which is probable. And in either the middle of a semester, that makes no sense. Either COVID has a college low on people, and like they're lying low, which doesn't make sense as more and more people are traveling as everything's lifting. But the industrial area being abandoned makes sense. Oh, people say that these beings only stay in Navajo Native territory, but they are or were people like you and I at one time, so they can shift back. So they're saying it's a flesh pedestrian.
Oh.
Oh, and they wrote the real word.
Mm.
I'm
Right,
not reading any more of that.
No more of that for you.
No more of that for me, because your boyfriend thought he saw one in my yard, so...
Yeah.
But he was drunk, so I'm gonna blame it on that.
Yeah. It's probably the neighbors. Like,
Yeah.
animals.
Yeah. The donkey was
neighbors.
over there. Actually, the donkey wasn't over there at that time.
Oh boy.
You never.
Now that I'm officially creeped out for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Ugh, there's too many, like, too scary ones of, like, the Mojave Desert.
Oh.
Well, that'll be perfect for next week. We'll,
I don't
let's,
know.
Yeah, can we keep this spooky train going?
yeah, let's see how long we could keep spooky for, because it's kind of fitting for us.
Yeah, and it's technically still fall, so.
Exactly. Every season's spooky season. Anyways, has anyone ever put up a sign in response to something you've done? Like this is a really basic one, and I know you don't smoke, so it wouldn't be this. But like, if someone put up a no smoking sign because you were smoking somewhere you shouldn't.
No.
This is from How I Met Your Mother, and I thought this would be a good question to ask.
A sign because you were doing something.
No.
No.
I thought on this, and someone's put one up about me.
What was it?
So, as I've been talking about my home a lot. So, as we drive into my country home, we have an easement. So, which means it's not a road, I have to drive through somebody's property to get to my house.
Mm-hmm.
And that property, I won't talk too much about it, but they very ungreat conditions breed dogs, and it's not the cutest. Anyways, it's very dirt-esque up here, and like there's just dirt everywhere, very sandy, desert-like. And one day I'm driving down through the easement, and I see a little cardboard, or like it's painted on a piece of wood, just like hanging up next to the side, like as soon as you get onto their property from our property, and it says, "Slow down, girlfriend." and I'm like, what the fuck? And then so the next time I'm up there at their house, I'm like, oh, like, did you see that sign? And I'm like, is it about me? And they're all like, no, it's just like, slow down, girlfriend. Like, because they always put like slow down signs, and they thought it was like, slow down, girlfriend, like buddy, or something like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm not getting those vibes.
So did I. Not like I
I'm
get
not,
it now. That's what
yeah.
I meant the first time. Like, slow down, girlfriend.
Yeah, and then because this was like 2 years
Not
ago
like
at this point.
Hassan's girlfriend. Slow down.
Yeah, and then apparently his parents went and talked to them like a week later and was like, hey, like, what's this sign about? Like, she thinks it's about her. And they're like, oh, it is. Like, we're just telling her to slow down. And I'm like, okay, you guys are so passive aggressive. Just like send a text and be like, hey, y'all, like, the dirt's kicking up for my rescue dogs. They're not rescue dogs, but they should be. Like, it's just kicking up dust. Like, can you make sure you go slower down? But I haven't gone down faster than like 10 miles an hour. Oh wait, no, and I vaguely remembering the story was that it was rainy. Like, it was too rainy.
So
and I'm like, okay, so it wasn't dust. It wasn't dust. They were just concerned.
Maybe.
Oh my god.
So
Slow
yeah.
down, girlfriend.
Slow down, girlfriend. They still have random signs out there. I'll take pictures.
God.
Oh man.
Yeah, no.
I should've-
No signs for me.
No signs.
No. I don't think so.
I've put up signs because of other people. Like, remember my old creepy neighbor on my old apartment complex who used to try to come into my door. He used to try to follow me into my apartment and then say, oh, oops, I didn't know this was yours, wrong door. So I put up a sign on my door saying, this is my apartment. And then he kept doing it. And then I put up a camera, and that didn't seem to deter him. So then I put up another sign, and I taped it to my door. And I was like, smile, you're on camera. And then in parentheses, I said, don't touch my door. Like, this is not your door. What?
You should have done like the zap doorknob.
Yeah, electrify it.
So yeah.
I should have. That would have been perfect.
Yeah. I'm trying to like make a list of everything we talked about because when I'm trying to make posts after this, I'm like, wait, what did we talk about? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. All right. I feel like I have no more to say until I have like 12 more cups of coffee.
No.
Well, next week we'll continue on our spookiness.
We will. I did write down I'd shower more if I could watch TV.
In the shower?
In the shower?
I just had, yeah, it was like a high thought, but it wasn't high. I'm like, if I would get in the shower more if I could watch TV while I was showering. Like,
Like as an incentive, or you don't want to miss what you're watching?
Yeah, like I don't get a lot of time to watch TV, so I'm like, I could watch TV while I'm showering, and then I would be entertained. I'm like, okay, I'll wash my hair today, I guess, because I have something to keep me entertained.
I listen to a podcast while I'm in the shower.
That's a good idea.
Sometimes I just get in there and just stand there because it feels nice.
Okay. It's not entertaining.
I don't think it's
like
entertaining.
relaxing.
It's annoying to wash long hair, so I get it. I'm
Yeah.
like, eh.
No, it's just annoying sometimes. You're like, I'm dry now. If I get shower, I'm just gonna be wet. Like,
You want to be
Exactly.
trapping.
Then you're like, I have to brush my hair. See, you're flossing again.
Yeah.
Showering is flossing.
full circle.
Full circle. All right, guys. Well, thank
why
you
do
for
we shower?
listening. Why do we shower?
Yeah. Did you
Unnecessary.
just smell your armpits?
No.
No.
No. I was curious if I smell or not.
Oh my god.
I don't. FYI. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. This was a little cookie one. If you're not watching, you should be watching us on YouTube.
You should.
Watch me smell my armpits on live TV.
There
Just
you go.
kidding. Not live TV. But if you did like this, please rate and review our podcast on either Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you want to hear. Maybe tell us your creepy... Yeah.
Write in your
Tell
stories.
us your creepy stories. We want to hear them. We want to read them.
Conversation
We
topics.
want to be scared shitless by you.
I
So
don't, but
um,
do it anyway.
we record during the day now, so we're okay with it.
We're good.
We have all day to palate cleanse. At 17scootersclub at gmail.com. I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Or you can message
thank you.
us.
Yeah, just DM us on Instagram and or TikTok. By the way, follow us and on TikTok and Instagram at 17scootersclub. And yeah, we'll entertain you even more.
Woohoo.
Thank you guys for watching again. We will see you next week.
See ya.
Two wheels are better than four. From the mountains to the shore, find us rolling up to the pub. We're 17 Scooters Club.